Each and every Monday is $9 Monday at wagertalk.com, and all daily picks packages are priced at only $9, including 5% best bets normally priced at $35. As an added bonus, any picks packages loaded early for overnight Tuesday or action during the week will also be priced at $9 until midnight on Monday. So make sure to take advantage of getting these $25 and $35 picks for only $9 before the clock strikes 12 and they return to regular price.
Welcome into the opening line report. I am Drew Martin, joined by Teddy Covers right here on the Wager Talk YouTube channel each and every Monday, 10 a.m. Pacific time, the final NFL opening line report of the year 2021. Teddy, without further ado, welcome in, buddy. How you feeling this Monday morning?
So, Drew, you say the opening the exact same way every week, and you didn't today. You just said the opening line report, not the NFL opening line report. So it tells us that, a little Christmas, a little COVID, a little bit out of sync. It's all good, buddy. Looking forward to a loaded show today, obviously. A full NFL slate for next Sunday. 15 games on Sunday, 1 for Monday Night Football. We'll go through each and every one of them, talk about where the lines opened, where they're going, some of the key quotes and information from yesterday's ball game, and see if we can put you on the right side of a lot of these line moves moving forward. So without further ado, Drew, let's get into it.
Hey, I'm not a machine, Teddy, a human being, but hey, the NFL opening line report is starting in just 1 second because we do have the Monday night football game here, Teddy, and a good one. The New Orleans Saints hosting the Miami Dolphins. We've seen this line move a ton due to some quarterback questions on the Saints side of things. Looks like -3 with juice on it. That's the Dolphins. This is a flip favorite game due to kind of the news, mainly at the quarterback position, I would think, for the Saints, players being out. We've also seen some under money as well, Teddy, with this total down to 37.5 or 38. But talking about this line here, Teddy, we're seeing -3.5 now at Westgate, also at Penny. Some of the leading indicator books that I've learned here doing this show with you, which way they point towards this line. But what are we thinking here in the Big Easy? Any quick thoughts on the Dolphins and Saints?
So I'm not an action on the game. So anything I'm going to say is from a guy that looked at the game pretty close and decided not to bet it. But it's not just Ian Book for New Orleans that's precipitated this significant line move. As you talked about, it was -3 to +3 for the Saints, and even 3.5 popping up. It's not just the quarterback position for New Orleans. And frankly, you're not going to tell me that Ian Book is going to be 6 points worse than Taysom Hill or Trevor Siemian or whoever New Orleans had been trotting out of the QB position. But it's a lot more than just the quarterback in terms of COVID absences for the Saints. It's all over the offensive line, all over the secondary for New Orleans. And all I see as I look at the injury list is question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark for all these guys who have to either pass or not pass whatever COVID test today in order to get on the field. It doesn't look good for the Saints in that regard right now, hence the money continuing to come for Miami. But this line likely to move between now and kickoff only in relationship to what the Saints injury report / COVID report looks like. If New Orleans has a few more healthy players, it'll sit at 3. If they don't, and right now it doesn't look like they will, I would be surprised if the markets, in the broad sense, move up to 3.5. Total-wise, is the lowest total of the NFL season at 37 this morning. We have seen some over money this morning. If you like the over, I bet that sooner rather than later. 37.5, still widely available, although we are starting to see 38s pop up at a number of books.
Teddy, I like what you said there about it's not all about Ian Book. And, I want to run something by you because, hey, anytime a first-time starter in the NFL, I'm looking to fade him, talking about Ian Book likely getting the start here tonight. However, the type of profile of player he is, one, he was a great college. He put together a great college career at Notre Dame. And the way he can extend plays, I actually think it fits well as a backup quarterback in the NFL for Ian Book to kind of maybe have a chance to make a couple big plays against this Dolphins defense. Do you think there's anything there? Or I don't know, do you kind of not agree with that sentiment?
A lot of times I'd rather have the dicey quarterback in their first start than I would down the road. Dolphins have no film on Ian Book at an NFL level. Okay, they have no idea what New Orleans' game plan is going to be, and that can definitely be an advantage for the quarterback who the opponent doesn't have film on. Now, if it's a situation like Jake Fromm for the Giants yesterday, where the offensive line just can't protect you, that's a different story. But a lot of times I'd rather have the backup or the third string or the fourth string quarterback, the one that nobody has any film on, the one that, not like Ian Book didn't play at the college level. It's not like he wasn't thought of as an NFL prospect. It's oftentimes, people are like, oh, I want to bet against the QBs in their first start. Okay. That's not a strategy that I found to be profitable over the years. For what it's worth. The Saints certainly have a pretty darn good defense.
Yeah, absolutely. And the hottest team in the NFL, I was just thinking his mobility might help him out tonight. We will see a good one with the Saints and the Dolphins. But guys, it is time. NFL opening line report style going down in rotation order. Checking out the Wager Talk odds screen, top of the card here on Sunday. We get the Las Vegas Raiders, Indianapolis Colts. Teddy seeing -7 for the Colts at some shops, -7.5 at others. 46 being the total. Raiders at Colts, Teddy.
Look headline, Colts -7.5, 48. My powering number, Colts -7.5. The market's opened 7.5/8. But let's get an emergency betting alert right off the top of If you like the Raiders, find a +7.5 right now. That line will not be there. I don't think it'll be there. We've already seen a broader market move towards Vegas here against Indy. And look, the Raiders' passing game is clicking. They've responded well to adversity. Rich Bisaccia after the ball game. We're seeing a team that responded well to adversity, whether it's before the game or whether it's during the game. And they had a ton of adversity yesterday against Denver. They were -3 in turnovers in that ball game. Still won, still covered, thanks to a defensive effort that was really strong. Max Crosby, Pro Bowler. Quote, we have guys running the ball like crazy. You don't see D-lines running like us, and that's a credit to Rod Marinelli, the defensive line coach, and all the guys in our room. Raiders aren't a team you have to take seriously right now. And, of course, when it comes to Wentz, I know his final statistical profile looked fine against Arizona. If you watch the game, you know how bad he looked for extended stretches in that contest. And I'll give Frank Reich a ton of credit in that contest. He schemed a bunch of wide open receivers. That was an impressive game plan from a Colts team that was missing 4 offensive line starters. T.Y. Hilton, we got a ton of ways to beat you. You just pick the way you want to get beat. Indy, 3 straight wins, 6 of their last 7. They did it, as I mentioned, missing the offensive lineman, missing Darius Leonard in that ballgame. You worry about a letdown here from a team that's been red hot? Frank Reich. This is one of the best team wins I've ever been a part of, considering everything. I'm sure there are other good ones, but this is up there. Markets clearly pointing towards Vegas, an early betting action. If you like the Raiders, bet them right now.
I like it, Teddy. We get 7.5, at DraftKings. Also, multiple offshore books, guys. Looking at the Wager Talk odds screen, moving down the list here, 103, 104. New York Giants versus the Chicago Bears. We're seeing Bears -6 or -6.5. Home favorites, 37.5 being the total. Low total here, Teddy. Soldier Field. What do you think of Giants and Bears?
Yeah, there are a good handful of 7.5s out there for Colts Raiders. You got Bet Rivers has one as well, and if you go down the screen, you can find a couple of those. Giants and the Bears look ahead line here. Chicago -4, total 37.5. My powering number, Bears -5.5. The markets are at 6. We could see some 6.5s pop for this one, depending on what the Giants quarterback situation looks like. And look, the Giants were rough yesterday. They finished 2.6 yards per play for a full game. Jake Fromm was under pressure literally on every throw. There were lots of throws to nowhere. There was no downfield passing game at all. 25 passing yards from Fromm before he was mercifully benched for Mike Glennon, which is saying something because Glennon's no good. The defense stepped up and played well, but once the adversity came, it wasn't good for the Giants. That being said, do you want to lay this type of price with a Bears team that, they beat Seattle yesterday, but they lost 3 straight, 7 of their previous 8, and they didn't win that game by margin. They have precious little home field advantage, and still Chicago with multiple QBs. Foles making his first start since last season. A QB who was good enough to drive them down the field for the game-winning score and the 2-point conversion to get the win, but this is not Chicago's price range, and we are seeing the money coming for the Bears. That said, the Giants markets are looking at them as being an unbackable team right now. They've been really rough. Their offensive numbers over the course of the last 2 months, worst in the NFL by a fairly wide margin. It was as bad as it gets for the Giants offense yesterday.
Guys, shout out to the chat box. Everybody joining us live, 10 a.m. Pacific time each and every Monday right here on the Wager Talk YouTube channel. This is the opening line report. I'm Drew Martin, joined by Teddy Covers. We got Gerald in the chat box from upstate New York. We got MC Michael Campbell coming to us from snowy Pennsylvania, and Paul from Essex, England. However you're watching, thanks for joining us, guys. People from other side of the pond in the chat box here, Teddy, as we're moving down the list. Tampa Bay at the New York Jets. We're seeing the Bucs minus 13-point road favorites, 45.5 being the total. What are we thinking here, Bucs and Jets, Teddy?
Yeah, look ahead line here was Tampa 11, 45.5. My powering number is 13.5 in the game. And the markets are sitting in the 13. I'm not seeing this line right now, at least showing that it's bouncing in either direction. You know, the Bucs, with an impressive bounce back off their shutout loss to the Saints. Antonio Brown with a monster game. Of course, Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, the sidelines, and Brown finished with 10 catches, 101 yards. He had 15 targets in that ballgame. Brady, excuse me, sacked 0 times. And Tampa's defense sacked Carolina's quarterbacks 7 times. So complete domination on the offensive line for Tampa Bay in that contest. And they may be able to do that here against a Jets team that, you know, they had 20 players in the COVID list. They played without their head coach. And they put together a goal line stand to win the game. I don't know if it was a goal line stand or whether it was the Jags screwing up. But let's not forget, the Jets 273 rushing yards yesterday at 7.6 yards per carry. And they still nearly lost to a 2-13 team. I'm not seeing a lot in terms of where this line is going to go. There's not going to be any public money coming in here on the New York Jets.
Teddy, we got next game up here, 107, 108, 1 o'clock Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific kick. Atlanta Falcons, Buffalo Bills, guys. We're seeing the Bills minus 2 touchdown favorites, even 14 in the hook out there at some shops. Now, they are at home, 45 being the total. Teddy, this is an Atlanta team that, you know, coming off of a win against the Detroit Lions, I guess they're still alive. They didn't cover in that game, but hey, they still got playoff aspirations, having to go on the road. Seems like a tough trip here. But the market telling us all they'd have to do is stay within 2 touchdowns, where we get the hook on the minus 14 here. That's the Bills as the home favorite in this one, Teddy.
It is time for our second emergency betting alert of the show. Look ahead line here was Buffalo minus 13.5, 44. My number's only 12.5 on the Bills, but the markets this morning are at 14, and it's going up. I would not be shocked at all to see 14.5s across the board by the end of the day today. We're already seeing the line move in that direction. If you like the Bills, find a minus 14 right now and get involved, because this line is not going down. You know, and of course, Bills become the first team to win at New England in consecutive seasons since the Colts did it in 2005 and 2006. No punts in yesterday's game, no turnovers in yesterday's game for the Buffalo Bills. As clean as it gets, and a win that was even more dominant than the final score might indicate. And look, yeah, the Falcons got the win over the Lions yesterday, but Lions had Boyle at quarterback. He's no NFL quarterback. And they held Detroit 0-4 in the red zone, while Atlanta's offense was 2-2 in the red zone. In fact, they had the interception to save the game at the end of the season. Matt Ryan afterwards, quote, "It's a gritty group for sure. It hasn't been perfect by any stretch of the imagination throughout the year. But when we've been in 1-score games, we've done a good job." And he's right. The Falcons 7-2 straight up in 1-score games, including 4 wins by 4 points or less. However, games decided by more than a TD this year, Atlanta is 0-6 in those contests. They step up in class, they've gotten killed. And the market's responding to that this morning with the Buffalo money. If you like the Bills, play them right now.
Love the analysis, Teddy. Yeah, absolutely. Picking up what you're laying down in that one. We go from the Falcons and the Bills to the Arizona Cardinals and the Dallas Cowboys, guys. This is a good one in the house that Jerry built. We're seeing 49.5 being the total, minus 5.5 now for the Cowboys. Teddy, I was looking at this game last night. It was Cowboys minus 3. And not a lot of time. That's a pretty big move here. What are we thinking, Cardinals and Cowboys?
Yeah, pretty disparate results for these two teams this week. Look headline here was Dallas 2.5 and 50. As you mentioned before kickoff last night, it was 3 for Dallas. My powering number is only 4.5 in the game. The markets were at 5/5.5 last night. I had this as a potential emergency betting alert, but I'm not seeing any signs that this is going to 6 right now. There's been a tap on the brakes at 5.5, so we're not going to emergency betting alert the Dallas side here. I'm not convinced it goes a lot higher. And look, I mean, the Cowboys are coming off as good a game as they can play. I had a really hard time finding stuff I liked in the NFL this week. And yesterday I only had one play for the clients. That was the Cowboys. We like it when they're nice and easy like that. I don't remember an NFL week where I only had one play on a Sunday for the clients. That's very rare. But boy, this was a tough week, and I'm glad I found the one good one. And of course, Dallas went 6 for 6 in the red zone. They scored the most points since 1980. They've now clinched, and they clinched before kickoff last night, but apparently they didn't know that they had clinched before kickoff last night. Prescott, I don't know if many people knew we clinched before the game. I didn't. And of course, this team continues to dominate defensively, which is bad news for an Arizona team that is really struggling offensively right now. Cliff Kingsbury. We continue to find ways to lose, critical situations, penalties, and things of that nature. We've got to get it turned around somewhere. I gave similar quotes from Arizona last week after they lost. They were saying, hey, we can't let this thing spiral. There was nothing to like about Arizona. And look, everyone's going to point their finger at Matt Prater, and Prater missed the extra point and the 2 field goals. It was the difference between winning and losing that ball game. All that being said, Prater wasn't the only problem with Arizona. And when you're without Rondell Moore and DeAndre Hopkins, the passing game doesn't work as well. This isn't a great running team. They're without James Conner. And they're having issues stopping the run right now. None of those necessarily good news against Dallas. That being said, in theory, this is your circle the wagon spot for Arizona, and they've been real good on the road prior to the loss at Detroit this year. I don't think this line is going to go a whole lot higher than the 5.5 that it currently is. Hence the no emergency betting alert for this one.
Sure, Teddy. Good stuff. Arizona Cardinals. That 10-2 start seems like water under the bridge now. And the Cowboys, been a great bet all season long, guys. 12-3 against the spread. We got next game up, 111, 112 here. Carolina Panthers, New Orleans Saints. Of course, the Saints playing tonight against the Dolphins. So I would say, normally I'd say a limited marketplace, but due to the betting marketplace in the NFL, almost every book is up with a line. We're seeing mostly 7.5s, actually -7 at some shops as well. That's the Saints as the home favorite, 38-40. I don't know whether to call it opinion in the marketplace here, Teddy, but it looks like we're getting some differences in terms of where you're shopping on both sides in total. Carolina Panthers, New Orleans Saints, 4:25 Eastern kick on Sunday, Teddy.
Yeah, look headline here was New Orleans 7, total 39.5. My powering number is Saints 9 for this ballgame, but I've been dropping Carolina like a rock every week.
Yeah.
Cam Newton ranks number 32 among NFL starting quarterbacks, and that includes Ian Books and anyone else you want to put out there. Cam Newton was beyond awful. And Matt Rule thought the best way to get his offense into sync was to be switching quarterbacks, running in and out of systems. Carolina's a mess right now. They're awful. I got them as my number 31st ranked team in the NFL. And again, I talked about it a minute ago. Brady sacked 0 times. Panthers quarterback sacked 7 times. Their leading rusher, Carolina, was Cam Newton in that ballgame. He played only half the game. Their second leading rusher was Sam Darnold. Their running backs, 9 carries for 14 yards. Not good. The home crowd was chanting fire Rule after the game yesterday. Rule after the game. I believe 1,000% the process is working. Carolina's fate only. And if the Saints look good tonight, if Saints win this game tonight, there aren't going to be any 7s out there tomorrow. I'll tell you that. So if you're betting the Saints this evening, you might want to make 2 bets, not 1. Because, like I said, this number, if New Orleans looks good, it'll go higher. If the Saints look bad, they still may be a touchdown favorite over Carolina. The markets are crashing on the Panthers team for good reason. They've been god-awful since that 3-0 start.
Yeah, quarterback position being awful, Teddy, and now fire the coach. Oh, my gosh. We'll see what happens with the Panthers going forward, guys. We get Philadelphia, Washington up next. This is 113, 114, 1 o'clock Eastern kick. Eagles versus the football team, 46 being the total. We're seeing Philadelphia -3.5, or -4, depending what sportsbook we're going off of. Teddy, it's kind of a unique situation. The football team getting blown out. It almost seemed like, Alabama versus an FCS team, something of that nature. We don't normally see that in the NFL. So I'm not thinking there's a whole lot to go off of on how teams bounce back. But anyway, throw it over to you. -3 in the hook, -4. That's the Eagles on the road.
Look headline here, Philadelphia -2.5, total 43.5. My powering number is Eagles -5.5. And the markets are short of that this morning. Washington just gave up their most points since 2010. Most lopsided loss for either team in a rivalry that's seen 124 meetings between these two squads. Ron Rivera, quote, I told them you play this game long enough, you're going to get beat like this. How you respond to it, how you bounce back, how you play, that tells more about you than anything else. And of course, the situation was awful for Washington. They were just playing 5 days after playing in Philadelphia on a Tuesday. This week they'll have normal rest. They may have some guys back, but it's a bad Washington team. Philadelphia's been good, man. The Eagles 6-2 in their last 8, 5-1 in their last 6. Every one of those wins coming by double-digit margins. They were pretty awful offensively in the first half yesterday. And you look up in the second half, and they're up by 31 points. That's Philadelphia. They've been the undervalued commodity. 2.6 yards per play allowed yesterday. Jalen Hurts after the game. Another week where we came out and didn't execute like we wanted to. But I've always admired the grit and perseverance of this team. We have so much character in how we do things, how we operate, how we're able to overcome. Philadelphia's gotten the wise guy support. They have not gotten the public support in that same way. Eagles, something of an undervalued commodity. I do anticipate this line more likely to go up than go down, but I didn't want to emergency betting alert it because there are issues. Washington with COVID. This is going to be based on Washington's COVID situation, not on the markets moving on Philly right now. So that's why this one didn't make the emergency betting alert. All that being said, if you like the Eagles, I wouldn't hesitate. Lay 3.5 right here. That may not be there tomorrow.
Guys, it's the NFL opening line report. We're about halfway through the Sunday slate here. We got Kansas City, Cincinnati up next. Huge shout out to the chat box. Like always, we got Jimmy in the house saying he had a good Christmas. Thanks to Wager Talk. Appreciate that shout out, Jimmy. We also got George in the house from Las Vegas, Nevada, wherever you're watching from. Come join us in the chat box, guys. Wager Talk YouTube. Also, if you're watching on replay, that works too. Feel free to drop a comment below in the reply section on the Wager Talk YouTube channel. We'll be in there throughout the week answering any questions and getting back at you in the comments. We got Kansas City, Cincinnati up next, Teddy. We're seeing the Chiefs -4.5 or -5 road favorites, 49 being the total. Chiefs at Bengals. What are we thinking here, Teddy?
Look headline, KC -4, 47.5. My powering number, KC -4. And the market that you mentioned, 4.5. We are seeing 5s popping up. And once again, like in an emergency betting alert situation, I want key numbers, 4.5 to 5. If the line moves to 5, you don't get every half point, but you're not missing out on anything key when it comes to NFL betting. So this line could tick up a little bit higher. I'm not convinced that it will. Kansas City's pretty hot in the betting marketplace. So I cut and pasted this specifically to ask you, Drew, because Joe Burrow yesterday broke the franchise record, 525 yards passing, throwing deep to break the record, up 20 in the fourth quarter. Here's my question for you. 4th in NFL history, passing yards in a game, 525 yards. If you can name one of the 3 quarterbacks ahead of him on that list, all-time pass in a game, I'll be impressed.
Dan Marino.
You're allowed to say you can't.
I probably can't, no. Unless you let me just kind of rattle off names for the next 20 minutes, I bet you I could get one.
That's what it would be, because it would take... Okay, one of the names you would never get. The guy just ahead of Burrow, Matt Schaub. You remember when Schaub threw for 527? I'd forgotten about that.
No, I don't.
Tied with Schaub is Warren Moon, who you might have gotten.
Okay.
And the other guy, you got to go back to the 1960 LA Rams, Norm Van Brocklin, who still holds the all-time NFL record, 554 passing yards in a game. And I'd forgotten his name until I ran into it yesterday.
Yeah,
so that's where Juro, again, Norm Van Brocklin, Warren Moon, Matt Schaub is not the list you have to be on. But the dude just threw for 525 passing yards yesterday. Burrow, quote, we're right where we want to be. We knew we had a chance to be in this position in training camp. We knew the kind of team we had. You couldn't ask for a better situation right now. We control our destiny, win these 2 games, and we've got the division locked. Zach Taylor talking about Burrow. He's making really good decisions, and the ball was coming out quick when we needed to. He was seeing some of that stuff down the field really well. You could tell his confidence he had in the pocket to get away from the pressures that showed up. You can just tell when a guy's got it, and today he had it for sure. KC's got, COVID's all over the place. They had all kinds of issues. And yet, even with the COVID, situation, Andy Reid, masterful in his performance. 8th opening drive touchdown. That's the most in the NFL this year. 8 straight games without allowing a first quarter touchdown. Worth noting if you want to make a first quarter or first half bet on this one. KC's been real good in this role. And Cincy, maybe they come out a little bit flat off a big win like that off a division rival. I do worry about the Bengals coming up. KC has played consistently. Cincy not so much. Maybe that's why we're seeing the money come for Kansas City off the open, off a brilliant effort yesterday by the Bengals, but the Bengals haven't been so good at following those up with similar showing.
Pretty interesting handicap in the next game here, Teddy. We get 117, 118 on the Wager Talk odds screen here. Jacksonville and New England, guys. We're seeing the Jags go up north here. 41.5 being the total. We're seeing mostly minus 15.5. That's the New England Patriots as the home favorite. High watermark minus 16-point favorites. That's at South Point in Las Vegas. Spread on the board here for Sunday, Teddy. What are we thinking, Jags and Patriots?
Yeah, look headline was 15.5, a total of 42. My powering number is only 14 on the game. I have to downgrade New England right now a little bit. Devin McCourty, quote, it's too late in the season not to be playing our best football. I don't really feel like we did anything well enough. Mac Jones has had a couple of rough games now, has shown that he can't move the offense when the running game's not dominating. Jones, we just need to execute better. It really wasn't our day. There's no excuses. These are issues for New England, but whatever issues the Patriots have, this is Belichick against a rookie QB. This is New England off back-to-back losses against a team they're supposed to beat. And it's a Jaguars team. They allowed another kick return touchdown, 2nd straight week. Positive quotes afterwards. Even though I thought we lost, I definitely feel momentum's going in the right direction. Jack Griffin. That being said, they lost James Robinson to a torn Achilles early in the game. That's so much for the running game. Trevor Lawrence's quote at the end cracked me up. Of course, the Jags had a chance to win the game. 4 shots from inside the 5-yard line against the Jets. Couldn't get it done. And some of that was Trevor Lawrence brain farting a little bit. But after all the blowout losses for the Jags, this quote cracks me up. What's different about this one was so close. That's supposed to be the way it is. We're 2 yards away. Obviously, we didn't execute cleanly there at the end, but the Jags have been blown out so much. Just a close loss is a positive for that team. I'm not betting against the Pats in this spot, but you're not getting any bargains with New England either. This line's not going to move a whole lot between now and Sunday.
Teddy, we get and one thing that's an important game for New England, guys. Their season win total 9.5 there, Teddy, and they're sitting at 9 with the final game of the season against a streaking hot Miami Dolphins game. So kind of just season win total. And I know they're up by favored by 2 touchdowns here, but an important one if you bet the over for the Patriots. We get Miami, Tennessee up next, guys. 119, 120 here. We're seeing the Titans minus 3 in the hook. That's at home in Nashville, 41 being the total. Of course, guys, the Miami Dolphins playing tonight against the Saints in Monday Night Football. Next Sunday's game here, Dolphins and Titans. Teddy, what are we thinking here?
Look headline, minus 3.5, 48.5. My powering number, 3.5. The markets haven't moved off the 3.5, so there's nothing doing here in terms of where this line's going to go. Although, if Miami wins tonight and looks good doing it, it could be a 3. Wouldn't shock me. That said, I'll give Tennessee all the credit in the world. 52 starters, 52 different starters for Titans. 88 players have played on that roster this year.
Wow.
The left side of their offensive line was ruled out just before hosting the 49ers. But their defense now is as healthy as it's been in weeks. A.J. Brown back. He was a difference maker immediately after being activated off IR. And Mike Vrabel, quote, we're not dead yet. There are things to like about Tennessee. That total, the look-ahead total, 48.5. No, that couldn't have been real. That's 40.5. My apologies. Sitting at 41 right now, and this feels as all the makings of a dead nuts under game.
Yeah, I could see that absolutely, Teddy. We got 1-2-1, 1-2-2 kicking off the 4 o'clock Eastern, 1 o'clock Pacific kicks here, guys. AFC West battle: Denver Broncos, LA Chargers. We're seeing Chargers -6 home favorites in SoFi Stadium, 45 being the total. Broncos and Chargers, AFC West battle, Teddy.
Yeah, I mean, the Chargers, look headline here, LA -6, total 45.5. My powering number, LA -6. The markets are at 6 and 45.5. We're not seeing a whole lot of movement on this one right now. And two teams coming off crushing losses, but one of them was more crushing than the other. The Chargers played a bad game in Houston. Brandon Staley, this is the tough side of the NFL. It's been a fight this entire season for us. It's going to continue to be that way. We still have a lot in front of us. Cornerback Chris Harris. We had tons of guys out. They had tons of guys out. A lot of guys had an opportunity to step up and show what they could do, and we couldn't really do that today. I don't think we took full advantage of the opportunity we had. In theory, the Chargers will have more players healthy this week, and in theory, they should be better than they were against the Texans yesterday. But, for Denver, the loss to the Raiders yesterday was a season ender. It might have been a coach ender. Fangio was on the hot seat coming in. It was a season win total ender, much to my chagrin. I got Broncos over 8.5 wins, and they win yesterday. They go 8-7 and probably get there. They lose now. They're 7-8 and have to win out. I don't think that's going to happen. But they had 158 yards of offense and 8 first downs. 1 of 10 on third down. They were +3 in turnovers, lost and failed to cover. Denver, this elite rushing team against the Raiders. The running backs had 14 carries for 8 yards. Defense is still fighting for the Broncos, which may give them a fighting chance in this one. But the last 2 games, the loss against the Bengals, they had all kinds of chances to win. The loss against the Raiders, they had all kinds of chances to win. This is a broken offense right now. And we'll see if the markets react throughout the course of the week. I'm not anticipating a ton of Denver money. That was the type of loss that felt like a season ender.
Teddy, next one here. Got another interesting handicap. Houston, the most surprising team just yesterday at San Francisco. We're seeing 45.5 being the total, minus even more than 2 touchdowns. Now that's the San Francisco 49ers, -15, -14.5, depending where you're shopping. Texans showing some surprise yesterday. Teddy, can they carry this over on their trip up to San Francisco?
No, the markets don't think so. Look headline, San Fran -15, 44.5. My powering number is only 13.5 on this ballgame. The markets are at 15 this morning. San Fran coming off their first loss after leading by double digits at halftime in the entire Kyle Shanahan era. They've been 18-0 in the regular season and playoffs with those leads. But the defense got gashed in the second half. And Jimmy G, again, the stats are going to show Jimmy G with a 300-yard game. If you watch the game, he was awful. And Garoppolo has problems against good defenses. Problem is Texans might not have a real good defense. They were missing 10 starters, guys on the field who they just signed this week. But I said it last week, Houston's trying to win games. David Culley's coaching for his job. Quote, those guys came in and showed they were ready to do what we needed to get done. This team is so resilient. They've never worried about what happens on the outside. All we try to do is get better. Davis Mills off a big game. Rex Burkhead had the biggest game of his career. Houston, who entered the game yesterday, ranked dead last in rushing yards, ran for a season-high 189. And you have this quote: "We played our most complete football game," from Culley. Now they got to do it again at San Fran. San Fran bullies teams, and San Fran's interested. I don't think Houston's able to pull that type of effort 2 weeks in a row, and neither do the markets. For 3 weeks in a row, they won at Jacksonville.
Yeah. We got 125, 126 up next. Detroit Lions, Seattle Seahawks. We're seeing Seahawks -7 in the hook, -7 at other shops, even at a -8 out there. We got 42.5 being the total. Lions at Seahawks here in the Pacific Northwest, Teddy.
Let's doodly-oop one last time. If you like the Lions, find a 7.5 this minute and take them +7.5. I'm not convinced they're going to be there much longer. Lions may have Goff back this week. And look, Tim Boyle's not an NFL quarterback, but the offensive line gave him time. There's a running game. Amon-Ra St. Brown is really looked elite in recent weeks. This isn't an offense that's not working at all. They had more first downs in Atlanta. They had more yards in Atlanta. They stuffed the run. They went 0-4 in the red zone with a QB that shouldn't be playing in there. And, Boyle's interception in the end zone killed them at the end. That was my mistake. I felt really good going to the game. With every look they could give me, I had a plan for it. But for it to end like that is heartbreaking. It really is. Dan Campbell, Lions head coach. We felt like we had total control of the game. We were going to go down there and score. It was set up perfectly for us. Well, sometimes you worry about a team like Detroit late in the season in a place like Seattle coming off a tough loss. But the Lions have shown plenty of character so far this season. And Seattle can't be laying this price. Pete Carroll, that was about as disappointing a loss as we've had. We're in control in so many ways in that game. You go win it and put it away, and we just never did. We let them stay alive, and they found a way to make their plays. The first time Pete Carroll has lost double digits in any point in his tenure in Seattle. First losing season for Seattle in the Carroll era. And everyone's blaming Russell Wilson. There's no healthy wide receivers and no healthy offensive. The offensive line's been crushed. We're going to see Detroit money. We've already seen Detroit money. You like the Lions. Bet them right now.
Guys, thanks for joining us live here in the chat box. Feel free to throw out a couple questions. Looks like we'll have a couple minutes at the end to answer any questions out there. So if you're watching live, we appreciate it. And again, fire away any questions in the replies below on the Wager Talk YouTube channel. We get the LA Rams, Baltimore Ravens, 1 o'clock Eastern kick in this one, Teddy. We're seeing Rams -3 in the hook, road favorites, 46.5 being the total. Of course, one of the stories here are going to be the Ravens quarterback position. What are we thinking here? Rams and Ravens, Teddy.
Look headline here, Rams -2.5. My powering 45.5 the total. My powering number is 3 on the game. I don't think I gave it for the last game either. Look headline was Seattle -9.5, total of 42. My powering number in that game is only 6.5. And as we mentioned, the markets are at 7.5 for that one. We have seen this line. There were 3s last night. There are no 3s out there right now, basically. 3.5 just about everywhere. And there were, I'll give the Rams credit for a couple of things. Number one, they were able to overcome a game where Matthew Stafford was awful. Throw 3 picks yesterday, and all bad, And it came in a game where the running game was working. Sony Michel with a season high 131 yards. The offensive line was blowing opens. Matt Gay was kicking. The defense was dominant. The special team stepped up, and Stafford was still way off, which is certainly a concern. They didn't get their first non-offensive touchdown of the entire season for the Rams in that ballgame. For the Ravens, the markets are saying question about Lamar Jackson. Jackson was this close to playing yesterday. I have to think he's going to play in this one. But it's not about Lamar Jackson versus Josh Johnson, who was signed as a free agent 10 days ago, or Ty Huntley. They lost 2 Pro Bowl cornerbacks, Marlon Humphrey and Marcus Peters. You have Jimmy Smith and Chris Westry from the quarterback position on the COVID list. You had Anthony Averett get hurt yesterday during the game. So, they had Darryl Worley out there who just got signed 5 days ago off the waiver wire. And they gave up, a record in terms of passing yards to Burrow. They were embarrassed in that ballgame. The Bengals never punted. The post-game quote from John Harbaugh, quote, "We're going to focus on the last 2 and see what we can get accomplished, see if we can work our way into the playoffs." I don't think that last week's or yesterday's embarrassing loss against Cincinnati is going to be the be-all or end-all for this Ravens team. They might still have a punch left in the tank. And like I said, I do think Lamar Jackson will be healthy enough to go on Sunday, but we're not going to know that right now. If he does go, the 3.5s may well get right back down to 3.
Guys, we got the Sunday Nighter and the Monday Nighter to finish it off. Sorry about that. We get the Minnesota Vikings, Green Bay Packers, NFC North battle here. 48.5 being the total. -7-point favorites. That's the Packers at home in Lambeau. What are we thinking Sunday night, Teddy?
Yeah, Green Bay look headline was -7, total of 46.5. My powering number is 6.5 in the game, and the market's mostly sevens. There are a couple of 6.5s out there. I don't know which way this is going to move. It's going to land on 6.5 or it's going to land on 7. It's a real question mark right here. Mike Zimmer is just 16-19 in December. He's had his struggles down the tail end of some pretty good regular seasons for Minnesota. And yesterday, no different. Only one of Minnesota's first 9 possessions went longer than 15 yards. The defense kept the Rams in check for much of the afternoon, but Justin Jefferson after the game, we definitely let them down. The defense. I thought they played a tremendous game, especially with those 3 turnovers. We got to find a way to get in the end zone. Worth noting, they got Adam Thielen back. Had 3 catches, 40 yards in the first half, but he aggravated the injury and barely was on the field in the second half. Don't know if he's going to go in this one. For Green Bay, +4 turnovers. They didn't cover. That's a problem. The defense was dominant. They sacked Baker Mayfield 5 times. They forced him into his first career 4-interception performance. All 3 touchdowns for the Packers came after Mayfield INTs. Aaron Rodgers, quote, "We got to do a better job of closing games out. Our defense has closed out a lot of games the last 2 weeks, stopping that 2-point conversion and the win over Baltimore. It's nerve-wracking, but winning is difficult in this league." I continue to look at Green Bay as being something of an overvalued commodity, and the last 2 weeks have kind of proved me right. It's a very good football team. Very tough to stop, but they're flawed. And the markets have a really high price tag on the Packers right now. Minnesota, they'll be playing for their season, essentially. This line's not going up unless it's at the public books. I think there will be some wise guy support for the Vikings.
I like it, Teddy. We got the Monday Nighter to finish it off, talking about flawed here, but 2 teams that are still alive for the playoffs. Cleveland Browns, Pittsburgh Steelers, 40.5 being the total. We're seeing the Browns -3-point road favorites pretty much across the board here, Teddy. Monday night, January 3rd. NFL opening line report style. What are we thinking Browns and Steelers, Teddy?
Pretty big move in this one off the look ahead. Pittsburgh was a 1.5-point favorite in the look ahead, total 41.5. My powering number, even after yesterday's game, is only Cleveland -1. But the markets just, they're just at Pittsburgh after that ugly loss against Kansas City and a Chiefs team that wasn't healthy and didn't necessarily play great, and Pittsburgh was not in that game. Mike Tomlin, quote, "We didn't do enough in any phase to give ourselves a chance. This is a collective, players and coaches. We own this. Now we have to get singularly focused on our 2 remaining division games." Everything's still right there for Pittsburgh. It's kind of, not to say a game against the Chiefs was a throwaway game. The Steelers are still live to win the division if they can win out and things break right. They're certainly live to make a wild card berth. Think of Fitzpatrick. Nobody likes losing, but it happens. You can be frustrated, but you have to focus on what you need to improve. It's about channeling your energy into the right places and about channeling your frustration in the right places. And Pittsburgh has done a very good job of doing that all season long. And, the Browns, the offensive line's a shell of what it was. Baker Mayfield is a shell of what he was. The wide receiver core is a shell of what it was. There are issues with Cleveland, but we want to look and see what that COVID report looks like. The market's clearly expecting the Browns to have a lot more healthy players this week than they did last week. And Cleveland, non-COVID, is a much better team than the Browns team that we just saw finish -4 in turnovers and still cover the spread in that loss against Green Bay.
He's Teddy Covers. Check him out, Wager Talk and SportsMemo.com. I am Drew Martin. We do this live each and every Monday, guys, 10 a.m. Pacific time. Huge shout out to the chat box. We got a little bit of time here to answer some questions, and we'll be answering questions throughout the week in the reply section on the YouTube channel. So feel free to fire away if you're watching on replay, or if you're watching live and you think of a question later, that works as well. We got John Fast in the chat box saying, question, what are some of Teddy's personal likes that he has to overcome in order to predict without personal bias in his career? Do you have any personal bias here, Teddy? You've been doing this a while, maybe University of Michigan. I've heard you tell that story. Anything else kind of come to mind?
Oh, hell, every team that I liked growing up stunk and cost years off my life, dude. All of them.
Okay.
I was a fan of the Mets, Jets, Knicks, and Rangers. Okay. Not good. The Mets won for me in '86. The Jets have never won for me. The Knicks, They've never won. Whether they win in 70 something. The Knicks never won.
I don't know.
Rangers, I didn't care by the time they. Michigan, Michigan won a national championship for me in 1998 against Ryan Leaf in Washington State because we didn't have to play Nebraska, and I bet Washington State plus the points in that game, and I cashed my ticket, and I was super happy because Michigan won my title, and I bet the other way. But I'm no homer. I could care less about any of these teams in terms of who I like. I like a team that puts money in my pocket. No fandom.
Yeah.
It's all I'm as black heart as it gets in that regard now.
Black heart is good. Great answer there, Teddy. We got the Silly Goose. Nice name there in the Wager Talk YouTube channel here. Teddy, he's asking, you mentioned the Lions plus 7.5 would be an emergency betting alert. Is this not a potential look-ahead spot for the Lions with the division rival in the final week?
I don't see that as a look-ahead spot for the Lions. They're a 2-win team late in the season playing a meaningless road game in Seattle. But I see, the Seahawks is a false favorite, and that's the crux of the concept. And part two is that Detroit's been given effort every week. The Lions looking forward to their season finale against a division rival, maybe, but it's not a look past them type of situation, in my opinion. And the markets aren't certainly looking that way this morning. When I talk emergency betting alerts, I really try to take my opinion out of the equation and focus exclusively on the screen. And the screen is saying at many of the leading indicator, we've already seen Detroit money, and we may well see more. Several of the leading indicator books are already down to Seattle -7. So this is as much a fate of the Seahawks as any other factor. Seattle can't be laying this price. Just like Atlanta couldn't be laying that price yesterday.
Okay, Teddy, a betting question here. Robert Wilson saying, can you talk about taking a team from 3.5 to 4 if you get a better price? Would there ever be a situation where if you're having to lay 3.5 and you got to lay 4 with the kind of maybe the plus price next to it? Does that ever interest you in the NFL? And maybe the other way with the underdog, Teddy?
So it's all math. There's no debate as to what the better bet is. If it's -3.5, -120, or -4 plus 105, you take the -4 plus 105. It really isn't a debate.
Okay.
Especially because it's not going to cost you a loss. All right. It can cost you a push if it lands 4, but it doesn't cost you a loss where you're laying the juice with the loss. So I don't know if that answered that question properly, but that's the best I got for you. I apologize. I don't do a lot of line manipulation because when you have a bunch of outs, you can most times find the line you're looking for.
Right.
If you have 8 outs on your phone, you have 8 books on your phone, you're going to find whatever line you want to find at some point during the course of the week, generally. If you're dealing with 1 or 2 books, it's a different story. And sometimes you have stake numbers that you don't want. But that's why I always tell everyone, instead of opening 1 account, open 2. Instead of opening 2 accounts, open 4. The bonuses at all, in Nevada, but all over the country where there's new gaming, the bonuses are insane. All right, take advantage of them. Open every account that you can. Even if you fund it with $20, fund it. And then you have more outs, and you won't have to worry about these numbers quite as much because you'll be able to find.
Sure, guys. As the sports bettor, we're kind of we're getting helped out by the sports books, kind of competing for business, giving out these promotions like Teddy's talking about. Something to add to that: be really careful, in particular when you're signing up for the account, because a lot of them are kind of linked to your first deposit in that first bet. So make sure to read out when they say like free play of $100. Make sure to bet the $100 in that first bet. Don't bet $50 because then you're leaving $50, where you're not going to get the advantage. So little things like that, just be very careful when you first open the account and when you first bet it with those, because Teddy, I've actually been on the wrong side of that, and then looked back and been like, hey, where's my free bet of $100? And it's like, yeah, you bet a future, and the futures don't count. It has to be a side or a total. Things of that nature could come into effect. So make sure to read the fine print there, right, Teddy?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, look, the fine print does not lie. and sometimes a little pain in the ass to read through, but it's
Yeah.
worth your while. Like, you don't want to be on the wrong end of any nasty surprise.
Teddy, last question here. We got the added football game here on the schedule for the NFL. Is that affecting your handicap with only 2 weeks left? One of these games, it's kind of, uncharted waters in terms of NFL regular season betting. Is that changing anything in your routine, how you're going at this? Any little nuances that are changing this season due to the extra game rather than years past in the NFL?
I'm sorry, I missed the very first part of that question.
Just the added game. Having one more game in the NFL regular season, is that changing anything down the stretch here with only 2 games left?
A little bit. The teams that are running on
Yeah.
fumes now have an extra game that you have to bet against, that you can bet against them. But your concepts are the same. Your concepts don't change dramatically. And from a broader perspective, like, am I looking systemically at this year different from last year at the end of the season? I'm not. They're just games. You're trying to handicap the games as best you can. And the fact that the season doesn't end this week, but has still another week behind it, it may mean that some of these bottom feeders are giving you one more chance to bet against them.
Yeah, you could absolutely see that, Teddy. So, Teddy, that does it for the show, guys. We're up against it time-wise. Follow Teddy on Twitter at Teddy_covers. I'm on Twitter at Drew Martin Betts. Check him out, wagertalksportsmemo.com. 56% win rate, guys, since 2015 in the NFL. There isn't a whole lot of people in the sports betting industry that have done that. So check him out, wagertalksportsmemo.com. Teddy, any final words here of advice before we shut this down?
Yeah, listen, we really appreciate all the comments, all the likes, all the follows. If you don't follow me on Twitter at Teddy_cover, I'm at 49,000 followers now, Drew, and I find that a frustrating number. I want to get to 50. So please tell your friends, give me a follow. I appreciate it very much. Like Drew said, we will be on YouTube going to the comments throughout the course of the week. I like to do it at least twice to go in there and answer some questions. So feel free to throw questions in there. And that's it, man. We'll see you guys in 2022 for the NFL opening line report for week 18. The first ever opening line report for week 18. It's the first week 18 in NFL history. Looking forward to that next week.
The inaugural week 18 NFL opening line report next Monday, 2022. Guys, happy new year out there from Teddy Covers, from Drew Martin. We'll see you in the replies on the YouTube channel. We'll be in there all week answering the questions. So, guys, have a happy new year. Best of luck with your bets. We'll talk next Monday. Thanks for tuning in.
Each and every Monday is $9 Monday at wagertalk.com, and all daily picks packages are priced at only $9, including 5% best bets, normally priced at $35. As an added bonus, any picks packages loaded early for overnight Tuesday or action during the week will also be priced at $9 until midnight on Monday. So make sure to take advantage of getting these $25 and $35 picks for only $9 before the clock strikes 12 and they return to regular price.